Hi, good afternoon. I am going to explain my final project for Multimedia 112. The overall objective of my game is to collect 3 keys throughout the map. Once you collect 3 keys, you have to make it back to a safe zone. Just a quick overview. I do have prefabs, so I do have different my enemies, the keys that you have to collect, and projectiles that you have to avoid. I didn't have time to add a 3D model from the asset store, so I just have these placeholder spheres as my enemies. As you can see, there's particle systems throughout the game. That's just to let the player know where the keys are located at. This red and blue particle system is to let the player know where the safe zone is once they've collected all the keys. Obviously, you can see a terrain populated with trees. They're there mainly for decoration on this side of the map. On the other side, it sort of gets in the way of the player. It's made that way intentionally. Another feature in here, I do have boundary walls to prevent the player from falling off. Right, you can see them. I also have water. You can see here. That's a detection, so if the player falls into the water, it's a game over. Over here, you see projectiles, which are my prefabs. If the player touches a projectile, it triggers a game over, same as the water. Also, find them. There are enemies, so the spheres. If the player touches the sphere, they trigger a game over. The enemies track the position of the player. That's done through a waypoint. So essentially the waypoint mimics the position of the player. Right, so the player, which is also a first person. I created and then added more to it via, based on the Amazing Racer first person that we created. But the enemies will follow the position of the waypoint. One issue that I noticed is while they don't fall off the map, they do go through terrain. So they'll go completely through the trees, through the little hills. That's something that I can improve in the future. Another issue, which I know how to fix, is whenever I restart the game, I'm doing it through Scene Manager, loading active scene. The lighting will go darker for the game. I know I have to change the lighting to sunlight, directional light to sunlight, but because of constraints, I didn't have time to fix it. And yeah, so let's get started, and I'll show you some more of the features. So let's play. And so from the beginning, you can see that I added GUI features. That's to activate the game. So the player, I'm moving around, nothing's happening, right? The player can't do anything until it starts. The particle systems are still on. I wasn't able to figure out how to get them to stop, but I'm pretty sure that's an easy script fix. Also, you notice up here there's a key count, which I took that idea from the rollball game. Basically, it counts how many keys that you have that you've collected through the game. So let's start. Another feature is a timer located at the bottom of the screen. It just lets players know how fast it is, how fast they're completing the game. So real quick, there's the boundaries, so I can't move off of the edge of the map. Another thing is there are sounds. So I have the steps, the jumps. That was taken from the Amazing Racer game. Let's get started. So here's the first key. You can find it with the particle system. And it is surrounded by water. It's a little tricky to get to it. Naturally, like I said, if you fall into the water, you get a game over. So let's collect all the keys first, just to show you what it looks like. So there's different ways to get around it. This is probably one of the harder ways. Because of the height of the water, the trigger is sort of iffy. So like if I go slightly over close to the edge, it'll count as a game over, because I'm touching the water, quote unquote. Also, as you can see, I've collected 1 key, so my key count has increased by 1. Now let's get back to collecting the rest of the keys. Oh, careful. This is always the tricky part. Okay, boom. Now the second key is guarded by these projectiles. They're moving, they're flashing different colors. It seems I missed some colors. As you can see, it turns white for a sec. I did set each curve to auto, each endpoint of the curves to auto, but it seems there are still some glitches whenever they're moving. And they also have a rotator script added to them. I can show you. So there's a rotator script. It basically just changes, it makes them rotate while they're moving. And those are prefabs, as I pointed out earlier. There's a prefab projectile right there. Now let's get around them. And yes, whenever you touch one of these projectiles, it is an automatic game over. You have to restart. Oh, that was close. And oh, another feature, so the enemies won't actually chase you until you've collected 2 keys. And it doesn't have to be like key 1, or key then key 1, or key 1 then key 2. It can be in any order as long as you collect 2 keys. I did that just to make it a bit easier for the player so you're not constantly being chased. So you'll see what that looks like right now. So, key 2, the enemies are now active. As you can see, there they are. They're following me. Spheres. They all sort of group up depending on like how you move around. See? Oh, that was close. And yeah, whenever you touch one, it is an automatic game over. There is key 3, and there is an additional text that will pop up depending on the what situation you're in. So, as I collected 3 keys, it now says head to the stage. If oh no, there they are. Sorry, I need to get around them. I want to show you what it looks like. And the stage is located at the top of the mountain. Go, go, go! Oh, I missed it. Yes, got it. I should have added once you reach the stage. Oh, you win. But this is winning the game. As I mentioned, there is a the GUI option is to restart the game, give you an option to restart the game once you've won. Basically, and as you can see up here is count 3, and you got all keys. But yeah, so I will now show you what it looks like when you get a game over, and also to show you what I'm going to be restarting the scene separately. Or maybe not, so basically when I restart the scene, it gets a little darker, right? But it's not unmanageable. I mean, you can still see. So I will show you what it looks like when I fall into the water. Geronimo! Boom! Game over. Click or press enter to play again. So we'll start again. I will show you what it looks like when I touch a projectile. Oh, fell into the water. Okay. There we go. And then let's touch this fast moving one. Oh, you probably couldn't really see that. Let's try that again. But it does trigger a game over, as you saw. But let's show you what that looks like. So there's a projectile, and oh, see, touched it. Game over. And now let's collect all the keys to activate the enemies and show you that that also creates a game over. Oh, oh, go. Okay, so there's one key. Let's collect the second key, and the enemies will follow you regardless of the height. Again, like I said, it's just the issue of them going through the terrain, which I'm sure is an easy fix. I just wasn't able to fix it in time for me to turn it in. So there's that one, and as you can see, the enemies are following again. They go kind of fast. But, boom! They all touched me, so that's game over. Let's restart this. But yeah, that is my final. Just going over the library a little bit. I do have terrain, my water hazard detector. It's right there. There are all my scripts. I also have a game manager to manage all the different objects. So the player, first-person controller. I have my spawn point, right, which spits me back out at the beginning of the game. My safe zone, which has the particle system attached to it, has a light to let the player know, oh, this is where you're supposed to get in. It's positioned at the top of the mountain. This will actually not activate until the player's collected all the keys. So I'll show you that real quick, just to make sure that the player completes the objective of the game. So if you go to the top of the mountain, which these steps were all created using the flatten hierarchy, there's nothing here. So it actually won't, nothing will happen. There's no projectile system, nothing happens. That way the player doesn't try to cheat. And let's do that. So yeah, there's a safe zone. The keys, they each have their own particle system. Right, so there's key 1, which is key 2. Oh, sorry. And key 3. Oh, well, here's key 2. Key 3. Here's key 3. The different enemies. And yeah, this was challenging. It took me about a week and a half to close to like a week and a half to complete the script and getting everything to talk with one another. The hardest part was the restarting the game once you complete it, and getting the animation of the projectiles right. I actually had to assign each one a different animation, since if I gave them the same animation regardless of the position, they would all move instantly to the same position. So each one would be following one path right here. The enemies, that was pretty simple. I looked up some code regarding waypoints on the Unity page, sub-forums. Not entirely sure how to stop them from interacting with terrain. The canvas, there's a count text which will count, or will display how many keys you've got, and the win text which will say head to stage or game over. This can be improved by adding you win whenever you win. As I mentioned, there are the boundaries and the waypoint, which is what allows the enemies to follow you. Thank you very much. As I mentioned, this is my final for Multimedia 112, my final project. My name is Ramon, and thank you.